Hi, this is Ed Fitzpatrick. If you enjoy local politics as much as I do, be sure to join our friends at Rhode Island PBS for the show A Lively Experiment. Hosted by Jim Hummel, the weekly series features journalists, pundits, and politicians debating the stories and issues that matter most to us Rhode Islanders. Tune in to A Lively Experiment and be part of the conversation. Fridays at 7 p.m. on Rhode Island PBS and wherever you get your podcasts. From the Boston Globe, this is Rhode Island Report. I'm Ed Fitzpatrick. Welcome back to the podcast where we bring you big conversations from our very small state. The runner-up in the latest season of Survivor lives right here in Rhode Island. Eva Erickson is a Brown University Ph.D. candidate and the first openly autistic person to compete on the show. She's here to tell us more about her experience. Eva Erickson, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Congratulations on doing so well on Survivor Season 48. I know you had a lot of fans rooting for you back here in Rhode Island while you were competing in Fiji. So what made you want to apply to be on Survivor in the first place?
I mean, I had watched the show with my teammates at Georgia Tech when I was there, and I'd played our own version of it. That was like a drinking game version, and I'd won the first time we played, and they had kind of been like, oh, you should apply, but it wasn't until I came to Rhode Island, to Brown, and I met my boyfriend, and he had applied, his whole family had applied, and I was like, you know what would really impress my new boyfriend is if I applied for Survivor. So I submitted a video, and I was the one picked, so I kind of got to live his dream.
Oh, he was impressed, I bet.
Oh, he was very impressed. He's so supportive. He's very proud of me.
So tell us about that. I understand it was a one-take audition video that you made at the Brown Hockey Arena. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do it today. Like, brought my phone out to the ice, was going to do it right before the Zamboni came out, had it all set up, was in my gear. And then the Zamboni came out, and I was like, oh, man. And this guy was looking at me weird, so I was like, okay, I'll go do it in the locker room. So I just set it up. And I started by just telling that exact story that I was like, I was going to film this on the ice. And so it kind of just kicked it off to talking about hockey and being at Brown, and then rolled into like what I do at Brown, being a PhD student, and then talked about my background a little bit about having autism, and was like, you know what? Okay, that's good enough. Did it all in one take, submitted it, and was like, okay, that's me. But they like me or they don't. Like, there's nothing else I can give them, and they clearly liked me.
So you're wearing a Brown t-shirt today, and I know you're a PhD candidate at Brown. So what are you studying there?
I'm studying engineering in fluid and thermal science.
And do I understand correctly that Brown leads the Ivy League with 7 Survivor contestants appearing in 10 different seasons?
Yeah, crazy, right? I mean, we're a hotbed for Survivor players. I love it.
Yeah, why is Harvard lagging so far behind?
Yeah, they got to pick it up a little bit. Even my undergrad at Georgia Tech, we have 3 Survivor contestants from there too. So
3.
It's cool to represent both schools.
So did you find your engineering background helped you at all on the show?
I mean, certainly having a brain to contemplate puzzles, right, is so useful out there. And so I think, especially you can see that I was very good at opening those puzzle locks, getting my brain working in that way. And it's fun to use that. But I kind of was hiding my more intellectual side while I was out there. And I wanted people to underestimate me because I do come in being a very physical threat. I can't hide that. I can't hide my muscles. I'm very charismatic. I love talking to people, so I'm a social threat. And I was like, you know, I can't let them know that I'm also a strategic threat and that I'm rather intelligent, but I would often add things together incorrectly when we're counting out numbers for votes, purposefully. Kidding. And so people would be like, Eva, that's not right math. And I was like, oh, right. Like, I'm so bad at math. Haha.
And you didn't mention the fluid and thermal science side at all. Right?
Not until the end. It was very fun to get to reveal that at the end of the show there in the finale. And I was very proud to get to finally tell everyone, like, this is what I'm passionate about.
Are there any parallels between competing on Survivor and pursuing a PhD, aside from the lack of sleep?
Yeah, lack of sleep for sure. But I mean, certainly just the overcoming challenges, right? Like every day on Survivor, it's about you go do a challenge. And there's the competitive challenges, as well as the challenge of not sleeping, of not eating, of having to make new friends in this environment and trust them and have alliances. And it's just constant challenge after challenge that when something goes wrong, you have to push through and figure out, okay, what's my next route to the end? Whereas with my PhD, it's the same thing. It's constantly challenges where I do an experiment, it doesn't work, something breaks. Okay, what am I going to change? How am I going to get through this challenge? How am I going to rely on the other people in my cohort, in my lab to support me and make it through this? So yeah, constantly it's that perseverance that gets me through both of those things.
That makes sense. So you not only finished second, you made history as the first openly autistic person to compete on Survivor. When were you first diagnosed with autism?
I was diagnosed when I was just over a year old. So I've grown up my entire life knowing about autism, being educated on this, learning the ways to manage these symptoms that I experience. And I've definitely grown and changed a lot throughout my life and how my autism is displayed. And so felt very grateful to be able to share my experience to inspire others out there.
Yeah, how did your autism hinder or help you in competing on the show?
I mean, I think I always say that my autism is my biggest strength and my greatest weakness, right? Like it gives me so many great things in my life, like that the aptitude for math, that I'm very good at things like that, that I am very just myself all the time. I'm very driven. I don't have this ability to mask who I am that others do, and that allows me to be very confident. And I think out there, I was very lucky in that my authenticity was accepted, and other people then reflected back at me this trust because I put so much trust into them, since I'm very straightforward and direct, and people valued that out there, which made me a great ally, is that I was very true to my alliance, and I'm not usually a liar, so it kind of, people trusted me, which was very great. But the downsides are that, yeah, I get very overwhelmed sometimes, and we saw that in episode 5, and as well as in the finale, where I have these episodes where I get overstimulated. But I had advocated for myself early on and set myself up to be in the best position by having someone that I trusted who could be there for me. And I was able to battle through this. And so, yes, it was very hard to have that happen to me in the game, but it also allowed me to become closer to an ally and allowed me to show who I truly am to the world.
Yeah, you're referring to that scene, I think, where you were trying to learn to start a fire and you became really frustrated and overstimulated. You were screaming. But do I understand you wanted them to show more of how that affected you?
Yeah, so it wasn't that I was learning to build a fire. I already knew how to build a fire. That's the key thing here, is that I know how to build a fire. I built one every day. It was that for days and days and days, I had been failing over and over in these challenges, right? Like I'd gotten DQ'd in that one challenge where we were holding on the ramp. I couldn't throw a ball straight up in the air on the challenge with the snake puzzle that was meant for me as a hockey player. I was very down on myself, and it was very hard internally to get out of this fixated mindset where I was like, I'm a failure. Why can't I do this? What's wrong with me? And then when I'm put in this situation where it's the entire pressure of the entire game is focused on me, that it is now in my hands if I'm going to continue in this game, go to the final 3, or lose and not be able to build a fire. And so I had the skills, I just didn't have the belief in myself, and my head was spiraling. So I did get ungrounded, I got overstimulated, and I was out of control. And it was much worse than what they showed in the show. And for time, of course, they have to cut it, right? Because it was a very long extended time. And my story is not the only story to be told out there, but I kind of had wished that more had been shown, so other people who have autism could see that that was my lowest point in the game, and it was the hardest. I was screaming and scratching myself, stimming on the ground in the woods, and Joe came to help me, but I didn't calm down immediately when he was there. People think that it's like, oh, Joe comes and you're fine. No, I have to battle through so much in my head, and that was kind of taken out, but I know what I did, and I'm very proud that I was able to get through that and then ultimately build the fire.
Yeah, you crushed it on the fire. I thought your speech at the final tribal council was really powerful. You talked about your autism, saying you've never seen a player like me. I was not afraid to show who I am. So you really embraced that national platform, I thought. And so what was the message you hope people take away from that show about autism?
I think just the number one biggest thing that I can say about autism is not something wrong with you. That there's so many misconceptions being thrown around these days about what autism is, what it means for a person in their life. And I am very proud to have gotten to go on national television and show what my life looks like as someone who's on the autism spectrum. And the spectrum is very vast and there's very different experiences, but no matter where you are on the autism spectrum, there is hope for you and you can live a full life within your abilities. And so I'm very proud to get to represent this community and kind of give a voice to people who have not had a voice in this area for a long time.
Yeah, what's been the reaction from others with autism to seeing you on TV?
It has been so amazing hearing so many stories of people who they didn't accept themselves with their diagnosis and were ashamed to talk about it, that they're finally like, I told my friends, I told people in my life that I had autism. I'm not afraid anymore because I saw you do it on national television. Parents of kids with autism saying that they didn't have any hope for their kid, that they're putting them in these therapies, things that I had gone through, and they didn't know if it would work out or if it was even worth their time and money. And seeing me, they're like, it is worth my time. There is hope for my son or daughter. And then people who recognize signs that they saw things that I talked about, my lack of social awareness, my directness, my fixed mindsets, thinking black and white. And they're like, wait, I have those things. I'm going to go get diagnosed, go get assessed to see if I have autism. And it's so amazing that people are willing to talk about autism more now because I was willing to show this vulnerable side of my life.
One of the headlines recently was that the new U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., said autism destroys families. He said many children with autism will never pay taxes, hold a job, play baseball, write a poem, go on a date. What do you say to that?
I mean, I made a video. I said what I had to say. He can kick rocks. That is absolutely wrong on so many fronts. And I think my life is just one of the many, many examples of how wrong he is about people with autism.
We'll have more with Eva Erickson after a quick break. When you want to go beyond the headlines, let me recommend Rhode Island PBS Weekly. Rhode Island PBS Weekly is an award-winning news magazine broadcast that gives you the full story, powered by investigative journalism and narrative storytelling. New episodes of Rhode Island PBS Weekly drop Sundays at 7:30 p.m. on Rhode Island PBS. Watch past episodes at ripbs.org/weekly. That's ripbs.org/weekly. So tell us what you're studying at Brown, more about that. I'm intrigued what we can learn from seal whiskers.
So I study how seals use their whiskers to locate objects in water and how that can be implemented in sensory tech for the Navy. So I look at the vibrations that seal whiskers experience when they're interacting with a wake in a flow. So it's very cool to be doing these big experiments in a 2,000-gallon water flume at Brown, and it's very cool work. I'm very proud of what I'm doing.
A 2,000-gallon water flume at Brown? That sounds fascinating. Yeah, your research is funded by the Office of Naval Research, right? Tell us about how that research could be used by submarines.
I mean, right now, a lot of the tech that's being used to sense things underwater is sonar, and that will send out a signal, which is often very damaging to marine life. And so this is a alternative that is more passive, so it can pick up on a wake trail of a passing fish, of a passing obstacle, of other vehicles.
What about this kind of work inspires you?
I really have always loved animals. I wanted to be a zoologist when I was a kid, and then I found that I was way too good at math to just go into zoology. So I am very happy to have found a way to combine my love of animals with my engineering aptitude. And so doing something that's in the bio-inspired robotics sector is right up my alley.
And when do you graduate? When do you get that PhD?
I have another 2 years left here, so I'm about halfway through, a little over. So I'm grinding at it, but it'll be a while.
And what do you want to do in the future after you graduate?
I'm very interested in getting into the sports equipment industry. My other biggest passion is hockey, right? And there's so much physics that goes into the sport. And now with having a background in studying vibrations, I think that it'd be really cool to work on vibration suppression in sports equipment and things along that line. So would love to do something there.
Interesting, including in hockey?
Yeah, hockey specifically, or just any sport. I love sports in general, and I think it's such a cool area. So I already combined my love of animals with engineering. Now I'd love to combine my love of sports with engineering.
And yeah, tell us about becoming, I think you were the first and only woman to play men's ice hockey at Georgia Tech, right?
Yep. Yes. It was a blast. I mean, I grew up in Minnesota, playing hockey my whole life.
Oh, that explains it. Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah. When I went down to Georgia Tech, I was like, I want to keep playing. And I know no girl has done that here before, but you're not going to get anything in life if you don't try. So I figured, what's the worst that can happen if I try out? And it honestly was the best decision I made so many amazing teammates and friends and just lifelong memories. So I'm going to a wedding for one of those teammates next weekend. So
Oh, no kidding.
the family.
Yeah. Do you still play at Brown?
Yep. Yes. I'm the captain of the men's club team at Brown currently.
So tell us a bit about what you think about living here in Providence.
I like it. I mean, I definitely miss Minnesota. I'm a big lake girl, but I enjoy the East Bay bike path a lot. I go rollerblading there at least twice a week during the summer.
And what's your favorite place to eat in Providence?
Hang Thai, right off of there.
Oh yeah, right on there. Any chance you'll stay in Rhode Island after graduating?
I mean, we'll have to see where a job will take me.
Yeah, what do you think of these accents? It's much different than the Minnesota accent.
I mean, everyone certainly has a lot to say about my accent, that's for sure, especially when I say big.
So my oldest son has talked about wanting to be on Survivor. We watched all the shows together. What should he know that he might not know sitting on our couch?
Oh, I mean, just be prepared for the fans. The fans are the worst part.
The fans, tell me about that. Why do you say that?
The hardcore Survivor fans have a lot of horrible things to say about the players, about our lives, things we go through. And so Reddit is full of very angry people. So that is the worst part of the show is the fans on Reddit. But for the most part, most of the fans that I have interacted with in person, have met in real life, they're amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, those internet trolls, they're horrible.
I'm sorry to hear that. You got a lot of fans in our house. So what's the hardest part of actually being on the island?
I think the crabs. The crabs were attacking me in my sleep.
Crabs? Really? They ambush you at night?
Yeah, and only me. Nobody else had problems with the crabs. Like other people were freaked out by the bugs and stuff, but I'm fine with bugs. I worked with centipedes in undergrad, but no, I would get these crabs biting me in my sleep, and it was kind of spooky. So you got to be wary of those crabs out there.
Yeah, that sounds traumatizing. Will you ever eat a coconut again?
No, never. Oh my God. Ugh.
Not eating that on Thayer Street. And finally, what did you learn about yourself competing on Survivor?
Oh, so many things. I think the thing that I came into the game having like a good idea about who I was, but it really showed me to my core that I am an extremely loyal person. And I didn't truly understand how important the social game would be on Survivor. And I think that was my strongest part of the game was the fact that I am so extremely loyal and protective of the people I care about. And so building these relationships, seeing how I would do anything for these people. Now, even outside of the game, that Kyle and Joe and Camilla, these people, like Camilla wasn't even my ally in the game. And now they're people that I have formed such tight connections with that they're family to me. And until they left for 50, I was calling Kyle every day. I was talking to Joe at least once a week, like calling Camilla up. We have a lot in common as both being women in STEM. And so I learned a lot about how much I value these connections and how much I'll fight for and protect the people I care about.
And that's interesting. People might assume that someone with autism wouldn't pick up on social cues. That might not be a strength, but you said your social game was your strength.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was worried about the fact that I'm not good at reading when people are lying to me. I never even pick up on when someone's like flirting with me and stuff. And so knowing that people would be lying in this game, it was scary going in. But ultimately, I found that when I was honest and open with people, they reflected that back at me. And I was very lucky to have people who cared so much about me that they were not going to take advantage of the fact that, yeah, I'm not good at reading people, but I am very good at making friends and just showing such deep care about other people.
Eva Erickson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Rhode Island Report is a production of the Boston Globe in collaboration with Rhode Island PBS. Today's episode was produced by Megan Hall. Our music is from APM. Be sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. I'm Ed Fitzpatrick. See you next week. Looking to binge watch all your favorite PBS shows? You need Rhode Island PBS Passport, Masterpiece, Antiques Roadshow, Rhode Island PBS Weekly, and many more. Watch them all, anytime, and from any streaming device. Learn more about this member benefit at ripbs.org/passport. That's ripbs.org/passport.